Sorry, it's Elon. Yeah, Shiba's on a rampage, up 75% in the last week.
Is that true?
And up 66 million percent since January 1st.
Oh my God.
I don't know what to tell you, buddy. You should have bought. A lot has happened in the days since our last Shiba post that need to be talked about, and some potential misinformation that needs clarification. More people than ever are making money on Shiba, and as a result, more people than ever are considering investing for the first time. In fact, Shiba now has 40,000 more holders than it did just 10 days ago. So let's cover all the facts around this coin and recent news catalysts so you're better informed of the future of the latest and greatest doggy coin. So a brief recap. Shiba was founded in August 2019 by an anonymous founder who goes by the name Ryoshi. He found this on 3 major principles. First, that he'll spend $0 to start the project because he's a self-proclaimed poor boy and wants to know if something can start from zero from someone with zero. Second, that any Shib token Ryoshi owns has to be purchased on the open market, just like anyone else, meaning it's a free market to everyone. And third, he will not send tokens to anyone for promotion of the project because he doesn't have any to send. Now, Shiba didn't see a lot of action for about 7 months after launch. However, 50% of the supply was deposited into Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin's crypto wallet, which kind of violates rule number 3, but also Vitalik is suspect to actually be a co-founder of the project.
Yeah.
Either way, Vitalik ended up burning 90% of the tokens that he received and donated the rest, over $1 billion, to various charities. And fun fact, if he held onto that stack, it would now be worth $24,600 million, meaning he'd be in the top 25 richest humans on the planet, if you believe Vitalik is human, that is.
I am Satoshi Nakamoto.
However, I'm sure he's not too worried about it, as he still has over $1 billion in Ethereum. And also a not so fun fact, this wild increase means that if you had invested $1,500 into Shiba just 11 months ago, you would now be sitting on $1,900,000, a 66 million % increase, a billionaire off of 1 month's rent. And I thought I was doing well with my crypto portfolio being up 140% this year, but hey, if you want to follow my buy and sell alerts and get additional private content, you can do so through the Patreon link in the description. There's 20 spots left as of the recording of this video. Either way, it seems like things for Shiba were calming down a bit as the price consolidated for about 15 days recently. However, Shiba was like, nah, we're not done, bucko, and shot up even further on the back of several large news events.
You better hold on tight, spider monkey.
And all of this despite Elon tweeting that he holds no Shiba. Imagine if he said he held no Bitcoin. We would all be having a red day today in our portfolio. But Shiba, nah, Shiba just keeps on trucking. So let's break down these news events and things that you absolutely need to look out for, whether you're interested in Shiba or you're already holding. First, a US Senate candidate, Shannon Bray, revealed that he's a big fan of Shiba and even changed his Twitter background to a Shiba smoking a cigar. I literally couldn't make this up if I wanted to. Then an Ethereum whale bought 276 billion Shiba tokens for $11.5 million. As of the recording of this, that purchase has already gone up $3.6 million. Not bad for a Tuesday afternoon. Here we can see the transaction details, and I did a bit more digging here to find the buyer's wallet info. It looks like they hold over $25 million in various cryptos. They actually now hold more Shiba coin than Ethereum, and it's interesting to see that they also hold over $1 million in Engine, which makes me wonder if this person's a secret fan of this channel. You gotta just love the blockchain where you can just casually look at someone's entire $25 million portfolio. Then I saw an article stating that Dogecoin was the most searched for crypto in the last month. However, looking at Google Trends, it appears that Shiba is blowing Doge out of the proverbial dog park, so that doesn't quite line up to me. Either way, I'm not sure that Doge and Shiba are the best comparison for one another. Where Doge is a straight up meme coin at this point, Shiba's a bit more. They already have a decentralized exchange called Shiba Swap where you can stake tokens or provide liquidity to earn some passive income on any of the 3 Shiba ecosystem tokens. And then beyond this, Shiba has other projects in the pipeline, which include Shibarium, which is Shiba's very own blockchain. They're currently built on the Ethereum blockchain, which is why their swap is basically a clone of other Ethereum dexes like SushiSwap. They're aiming to launch this blockchain blockchain by the end of the year. And then we have Shi, which would be the Shiba ecosystem stablecoin, and Shiba Net, which is aiming to be a payment platform that businesses could use to accept Shiba as payment. Now, is Shiba the most functional project in the world? Of course not. But it's undergoing a big transition from pure meme, which does deserve some credit in my book. Now, some have said that Shiba is actually an Ethereum competitor. However, that seems like a bit of a stretch, or at least it's many years out before it could potentially be a viable competitor. However, impressively, trading volume for Shiba did briefly pass Ethereum's for a 24-hour period, and not by a small amount either. It beat Ethereum by $1.6 billion in daily volume, something previously thought impossible. So all this action in a short period has launched Shiba to the 11th largest cryptocurrency, only 2 spots away from Dogecoin. However, there is a big jump between 9th place and 11th place. Shiba will have to increase by an additional 87% in order to tie with Doge and make up that more than $16 billion gap. Now, no matter what happens, we can guarantee that it'll at least be exciting. Many are now trying to use charts to determine what will happen next with Shiba. A popular tool is RSI, the Relative Strength Index, a number between 0 and 100. If the RSI is below 30, an asset is considered oversold. If it's over 70, it's considered overbought, which means there may be a correction coming in price. Right now, we're sitting at just over 80, which is of course on the higher end of the spectrum. And looking back at the chart, the RSI line at the bottom has trended with prices pretty closely over the last 2 weeks. So this is just something to keep a close eye on. Now, we also need to consider the human element here. Here are the holders making money at the current price of Shiba. We can see that nearly everyone holding Shiba is profitable. And this can be interpreted in a few ways. You can look at it as if everyone is profitable and people may begin taking profits. However, you can also look at it with the context of being in uncharted territory with room to go before it catches up with Dogecoin, meaning investors could be expecting an even larger rally, especially with those 40,000 new investors joining in just the last few days. There are surely investors who feel both ways, but it's important to put yourself in the shoes of investors who have already won big and have a huge amount of influence on the price of Shiba. And this is further impacted if we look at the concentration held by large holders. Over 81% of the supply is held by the top 100 wallets. However, that statistic isn't completely transparent, even though you've probably seen this reported before. Of those top 100 wallets, more than a dozen are exchanges. One is the Shiba token wallet, and one is the Shiba burn wallet holding that 41% of the supply that Vitalik just dumped. So I was curious about the real figure here, and I sorted through all of the non-individual wallets, and I found that the top 81 individual wallets hold over 23% of the total supply, including 7% of all Shiba held by one individual that's worth well over $1 billion. An insane amount, but maybe not so insane if we remember $1,500 in January would have netted you $1 billion today. Now, some speculate that this is the founder Ryoshi's wallet. However, he says that this is not him. Believe it or not, he says that he holds 0 Shiba to this day. What I'm driving at here is another thing to keep an eye on is those big players who have been in Shiba for a while, with at least one becoming an instant billionaire. Keep an eye on these wallets, as large sell-offs from these individuals could create downward pressure on the price.